Mark, I want to hit you with some quick fire Aussie players that we haven't talked about yet. There's probably 3 or 4 more that we need to just cover. First one is Jock Landale. Had a great Olympics in parts, led the Boomers in different parts of that tournament, had some great games, had some games where he was not as strong, but enters a similar situation, as we said, to Duop Reith, in that he's the third string centre in Houston behind a guy that they just gave, 150 million to in Alfred Sengun. 180 million dollars, and a guy named Steven Adams, who's a veteran of this league, one of the strongest people in the world, seemingly. If you ask NBA players, they do not want to run into Steven Adams, and if he's even a little bit angry, then they walk the other way. But Jock is playing the third stringer for those guys that are, going to get the lion's share of the minutes. So where do you see Jock's season going?
Yeah, I think he's got a hope for a trade, right? He's kind of in the same spot as Duop. And I think that I loved watching him over the Olympics. I think he understands where his strengths are. He understands how to play in the short role. I thought that he's a willing shooter. I'm pretty sure we'll see him be willing to shoot the ball if he's in the pick and pop. He's going to make good decisions. I think he's in a spot where he's just hoping to either him be moved or, for whatever reason, Adams to be moved. They're obviously not taking their foot off the pedal with Sengun as being the hub of that team, and he's going to play 30 plus minutes. And there's just not a lot of time to be had when you have a center that's going to play 30 plus minutes, and then you have a backup big who's a respected big who's supposed to be the veteran presence to carry the young guys through in the second unit to keep everybody in line. So it's tough to see him getting a ton of court time if he's not in Houston, or if he is.
The thing for me is that there's 30 backup center jobs in the NBA, and it feels like Duop Reith and Jock Landale are good enough to have 2 of those jobs.
Yes, they completely are. 100%. They definitely are, and they both have to hope. Duop has to hope for somebody to leave his situation because he fits well behind Klingon, and Landale has to hope to be moved out of his situation.
Shout out to Jack McTray on Houston as well on a 2-way contract. I couldn't go a podcast without mentioning my man Jack McVeigh. Mark
Sour Patch Kids.
A huge fan of Jack McVeigh from Paris and his ability to light it up in short order. He may see the season for the NBA, but he will play his trade largely in the G League this season. We're excited for his first NBA minutes. And I know you are as well, Mark, because he can light it up.
I'm a fan. I think that there's things, you can have your gripes about any player, but there's something about Jack that is very, very admirable in terms of he has it locked in on this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I can do. This is where my success will come from. This is how I can help a team, and make or miss, he doesn't shy away from it. He never shies away from it. He is always doing, what he believes is the best thing for the team, which is him shooting the ball. And you don't put Jack McVeigh in expecting him not to shoot. He's going to shoot.
It's the opposite.
And there's something really cool about a guy who's trying to make it at the highest level, who's like chasing his dream, who's not gonna holster the guns. Like if he's going down, he's emptying the clip. And I think that's really, really cool. And I'm rooting for him.
I think the entire state of Tasmania is definitely rooting for Jack McVeigh. Yeah. We'll move on to other Australians that are I guess, opportunities in the NBA. One with some significant minutes this season potentially is Josh Green. Josh played with Dallas for the first part of his career, was traded to Charlotte over the American summer, joins a team that has been rebuilding seemingly for 4 or 5 years now, and is chasing, quality rotation players to try and propel a LaMelo Ball-led, Brandon Miller-led team to the next level. How do you see Josh Green fitting in with the Hornets?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the perfect fit for him because there's no shots to be had, so that works for him. He doesn't.
Yep.
This is all good with me. No problem, guys. LaMelo and Brandon, they'll take all of them. Trey Mann will take the rest. Don't worry. We have 0 shots for you, Josh. He's like, cool. No problem. But seriously, I think that his skill set fits there. His skill set being, I'm an athlete. I'm willing to crash the glass every single time, offensively and defensively. I'm willing to be a wrecking ball. I'm a live grenade. Throw me out there. I'll pick up full court. I think that he's obviously a top end athlete. You saw him in the playoffs being able to play each and every single round athleticism wise. I think my biggest concern is, at what point does the shooting become, either A, his shot, or B, his lack of willingness to shoot the ball? At what point does that become a deterrent where you just can't play anymore? But if he can get to the point where he feels confident enough to shoot the ball a couple times a game and he can keep defenses honest, his athleticism definitely belongs in the NBA, and he can really wreck a game, being able to pick up somebody full court, being able to blow up screens, being able to be attached to a shooter and actually stay to them in the half court.
It's come to the part of the podcast where we have to talk about the last player we're going to reference on this program. He plays for the Brooklyn Nets. This is a real don't get fired situation for me, because there's a lot of emotion around Ben Simmons. Look, I don't want to.
Do people still care?
Yeah, I think he does, and I want him to play well, and I want him to do really well in his career. And it strikes me that he's entering a contract year, so it strikes me that at this point in this season, there is every incentive to play a lot for Brooklyn, for a team that is going to lose a lot of games. They are not built to win. They are built to try and enter the Cooper Flag sweepstakes this year. They got their pick back from Houston in the trades that they did over the summer. They're built for the sweepstakes, and Ben Simmons is going to benefit from that because he is going to play a lot, and they don't know if they can trust him heading into this season. That much is clear. Just about every basketball fan on social media doesn't know whether they can trust Ben Simmons heading into this season. But
do you use workout videos or AI from the summer? Is that?
Let's not start that. I want to preface this conversation with, I hope Ben Simmons has a great NBA season, continues to make a lot of money from the league, continues to have a long, storied, successful NBA career. With that being said, Mark, hit me. What do you think?
I think it's really difficult for anybody to still work up the energy to care. I think there's been enough from the non-layup pass against Atlanta until now. I think there's so much in between that there's got to be a couple months of the season that Ben plays without anybody saying anything, and he just keeps playing and playing well before he can enter back into a serious basketball conversation. That being said, since you do want to talk about Ben, I think it's incredibly interesting. There's something about a contract year in the NBA where when you're being paid money before and it's big money and you know that they have like 30 plus million, like you kind of get to say like, I want to do this or I don't want to do that. And so Ben's been very vocal about like, I'm not a center, I'm a point guard. Like for the past couple of years, he's had, years and money left on his deal. You can say that when you have years and guaranteed money left on your deal. I think one thing that's been interesting, and I haven't watched a lot of Brooklyn, but I did see clips from a preseason game, and it looked like a lot of Ben Simmons playing the 5. And it looked like a lot of Ben Simmons playing, the elbow action and being a split passer. It looked a lot like Ben Simmons was just like in the half court rolling into DHOs and playing like a pseudo Jokic, Sabonis, Bam role of like, I'm a hub of an offense, but I'm a 5-man. And I think if Ben wants to have more on his career in the NBA, if he wants to have, a second act to it or a third act, whatever you think he's in now. Yeah. If he wants to have a third act, it's going to be as a 5-man, and he's going to have to enter the Bruce Brown vortex in Brooklyn and, change himself from a point guard as Bruce came there from Detroit and figure out like, this is where I actually fit in the league. This is where I can be incredibly effective in the league. And he's going to have to decide that he's a 5-man and he's going to be an ultimate hub of an offense that can push the ball, but he's going to have to guard fives. He's going to have to learn drop coverage and pick and roll. Like that's the future for him. And if he thinks it's something different, I don't know. Keep leaving milk and cookies out on the 24th. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
So if he's playing some five, then that means that he may be buying into the fact that this is the next phase of his career. Like,
that's a nice bow to put on it.
Yeah. So I'll leave you with this question, though. What is Ben Simmons' ceiling for the remainder of his career?
I think you can look somewhere to like this new hybrid 5-man, because there is a path forward to the Bam, Sabonis, early days Jokic role of really like grabbing and going, but not looking to finish, but looking to roll into a DHO and maybe finish if Steven Adams is guarding him or something like that. Like, there's a role for him that exists where the whole offense is inverted. Or Draymond Green is a perfect example of this. Like that is the role for him. That is the future. What that role takes is, from Ben, it's going to be a really high work rate on the defensive end, because when you play a guard spot, it's very different than playing the 5-man. The 5-man on defense is the quarterback. The 5-man on defense never shuts up. The 5-man on defense tells everybody where they need to be because they're behind the play. They're looking at it. They're seeing everything. They're communicating. And so when you're a point guard and when you're guarding on the ball, you see nothing behind you. You listen. You talk once you get off the ball. But when you're the 5, it has to be nonstop. So I think for Ben, like there's a future when it comes to that role. And he would be, a hybrid that really didn't exist in terms of the speed, the ferocity, the passing angles, like what he could see in that role. But if he thinks that role is going to be something where he plays next to a Nick Claxton, where he plays next to a 5 and really evolves as like another team looks at that and they're like, yep, we can see that working here. If he can't show that I'm willing to do that, I don't know. I don't know enough GMs, and I don't talk to them enough about Ben Simmons, but I can't imagine one of them lining up to be like, yeah, like we'd love to see him play next to Steven Adams.
Yeah, you'd love to play him instead of Steven
exactly.
Adams, right?
That's the future for yes. But we talked to start with, like, the NBA is all about self-awareness, and either you become self-aware and change, or you get hit with, when July 1st comes around, nobody calls. And if you don't get the self-awareness first, if you don't preemptively strike and change yourself and see how you fit within the league, nobody's calling. Nobody's lining up. They're not charities. Nobody's lining up to give you money if you don't know exactly how you can impact the game.
Well, early signs are that that's where we potentially are with Ben Simmons, although we've got a long way to go in the season to understand if that's where we're actually at. So we've gone through a lot of players today, Mark. Dyson Daniels is by far and away your favourite Australian NBA player.
The Prince who was promised. The Prince who was promised.
Can I interest you in the fact that he's got a younger brother that might be just as good, named Dash?
Oh my God, tell me more. What a name.
Yeah. Dash Daniels.
That's a superstar name.
You're going to have to get yourself maybe an NBL subscription next season when he
sign me up.
potentially comes into the Next Star program. So
Dash.
I promise that if you end up watching a lot of Dash tape, that we will have to get back together for a Dash Daniels podcast prior to him being drafted eventually to the NBA. But Mark Campbell, you can find him at LowmanHelp on Twitter, or X as it's known now. Thank you so much for being a part of Unwrapped and coming back to the Pick and Roll family, and you're welcome anytime.
Thanks for having me.